will call to order a Transportation Committee meeting of October 5th, 2021. Will we have a roll call, please?
Chaplin, here. Desart, here. Krajewski,
Here.
Ozog, here. Pachowski,
Here.
Zay.
Okay, we have a quorum. I have no chairman remarks. We have no public comment. I have a move to approve the committee minutes of
Second.
September 21st, 2021. Motion a second. Any changes, alterations, or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. I have agenda item 6. Will we approve change order to Atiris Inc. for an extension and revised Exhibit C? It's basically an extension due to COVID-19. So if I have so moved, motion a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is 7A, a budget transfer from highways, and there's a Scrivener's error. It's 200,000 in both A and B. So if you just add an extra zero, and it's going for automotive fuel and lubricants for the remainder of FY21 due to fluctuating prices of the crude oil market.
Second.
I got a motion second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is 7B, which is a transfer from highway funds of 200,000 for the remainder of 2021 due to anticipated repairs to the heating HVA system of the DOT buildings.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is agenda item 8, which is a change order, which is change order 8. A is A. Epstein and Sons decrease in close, which is a savings of 9.50%. I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is 8B, which is change order Northern Contracting, a decrease in close of 74.73%. I have a motion and a second by Zay. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is number 9, procurement requisition. May I have approved motion to approve a contract with R.M. Chin and Associates for professional construction engineering services for the reconstruction of the Division of Transportation's off-site maintenance facility and owners representative support services
So moved.
for a contract not to exceed $999,947.58. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Chris, good job keeping it under $1 million.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
I want to thank Mr. Snyder for taking the time yesterday to answer questions that I had about how this is done. So thank you.
All right, good. I thank you for getting back to him. So, all right, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is a contract purchase to WJN Enterprises Inc. DBA Central Parts Warehouse for furnished replacement plow blades for the Department of Transportation for a contract not to exceed $20,612, which is low quote.
Second.
I have motion a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is contract to Builders Chicago Corporation to provide preventive maintenance service and repairs for overhead doors, roll-up shutters, gate operators, dock covers, and revolving doors as needed for county facilities for a 2-year period of time for a total contract not to exceed $192,520. And the
Second.
Department of Transportation part is $30,000. Motion a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. 10 will be pulled, and we'll bring back at a later date. And that takes us to agenda item 11, amending resolution. Move to approve DTR 381A18, amendment to a resolution to Burbank Commercial Services Inc. for the 2018 sidewalk improvements to decrease and close the funding amount of $48,208.47,
Second.
resulting in a cost of $359,306.30, a decrease of 11.83%. We have a motion a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is a discussion on the transfer of surplus property. Is that you, Chris?
Yeah, yes. So I'll get started. I think we have some people on the line if questions come up. So before, in front of you, you have this aerial exhibit. If you go to page 2, there is a section of township right-of-way adjacent to the Illinois Prairie Path in the vicinity of Wheaton Warrenville South High School. So if you look at on this exhibit, the blue is the Illinois Prairie Path, and the yellow and the gray is the right-of-way, unimproved right-of-way for the township. So the road was never built, and this is unimproved vegetated area. So when they vacate it, we've been advised they intend to vacate the right of way. And by statute, when they do such a vacation, half the right of way goes to each adjoining property owner. So half would go to DuPage County, half would go to the 2 residential lots to the, we'll call it to the south. We've been approached by one of the property owners who have asked that, would it be possible that upon that transfer to the county, that we would turn around and basically declare it excess and sell it to them. We have no use for it. Our right of way through this area is a consistent 100 feet. We don't need it today. We don't need it in the future. So it's our recommendation would be to actually transfer it as, declare it as surplus and transfer it to the owner. But our recommendation is at no cost. We don't own it today. We would literally own it for 5 minutes. The only cost would be the cost for us to do any plat and legals and things like that. So any administrative costs associated with it.
All right, so you're seeking direct from us.
Yeah, some
proceed
direction.
with the transfer at no county cost because we're declaring it surplus property.
It can only go to them.
Okay.
It's 33 feet wide by the length of the property, a couple hundred feet.
So you're talking about the gray and the yellow?
I'm sorry, it would just be the yellow.
The automatic.
They're gonna get the gray
We're getting the
automatically.
gray and it would be the yellow.
And so it would just be the yellow.
Okay.
And they've approached us with that option.
All right, and that's what staff is recommending. So I assume we're giving them, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I assume you're giving the one of these owners contacted you for this, and I'm assuming we're just going to let the other owner know that they're being given this as well.
It's my understanding that they've already been talking and so we expect the second owner to also be approaching us, but they have not.
Well, that was my question, but I think we should just approach them, not
Okay.
wait for them.
Sure.
We're with the other one.
I agree. If we
Doesn't
declared it
we-
surplus and it's our desire to proceed with the transfer, I think we ought to be the one contacting them. So why don't we proceed with it under the direction that you're going to contact both of the residential owners as to their getting that 33 foot. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
And so we will formally bring to board then a resolution, both declaring it as excess and transferring the property to the
Okay,
adjacent.
Mary?
owner.
I'm sorry.
And then we would just eat any costs that were involved in terms of,
I thought we said no.
how does that work? I mean,
So there's gonna be, there's gonna be,
transfer of plat, what do we
we'll have
do
to
with that?
prepare a plat legal description for the transfer of the property and any other fees associated with it. Those are
We're
not,
exempt for most of the fees. So like the state transfer tax, the county transfer tax, we don't pay any of those because we're a
Okay.
body.
Okay,
Exactly
so
what we're
I
talking
was
about.
concerned we might be looking
Based
at
on the value.
$1,000, so we're gonna be exempt from that.
Yes.
sort of thing.
That's what
Okay.
I thought was it.
So we're talking basically some administrative hours.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Have we taken a look at this property?
it's all vegetated.
Yeah, like a wetland or something. I don't want them to, buy it and then all of a sudden they want to expand on it and it's like, well, I want to put something back there. And it's like, well, it's wetland. Why didn't you tell us it was wetland or something like that? And then they, get all mad at us or something.
You know,
We can put water there.
Right, I'm familiar with it because I do take the path through there. It's all vegetated
Okay,
and
good.
it's normal vegetation that you would expect along the prairie path.
I
It's
just
not-
didn't want them to come back in like 2 years and say, you guys told me a bad strip of property or whatever. So,
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
Right, and they've approached us and asked for it, so I'm sure they've been become familiar with the use of the
I'm
property.
sure they've been using it anyways.
Yeah.
That's in their backyard for.
Backyard.
There's a lot of that.
Well, we got a fence already up.
Their solo stove goes a little bit farther than the property line.
Well, I
so-
think we're giving you direction to proceed based on the comments made by our other members
Mhm.
as to how to proceed and who to contact. So I guess we're okay with that. There's no action item needed, so that takes care of that. That takes us to item 13, which is the trail plans introduction and approval of goals. Is that Sydney?
Yeah, so Sid will be bringing up, I think on the screen, just as an introduction, back in 2003, the county developed a trails maintenance policy. What this trails plan is an update to that policy, bringing it more current, not just doing maintenance items. And it will be a focus on the Illinois Prairie Path, Great Western Trail, and Southern DuPage Trail. So with that, we'll turn it over to Sid to have the presentation in front of you.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, committee. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Good. I always like to make sure that we've overcome that particular difficulty. So as Chris had mentioned, today what we have in front of you is an introduction to the DuPage Trails Plan as well as the plan goals and objectives. We'll talk about what our plan overview is, the timeline of the project, and those goals and what we would propose to do from here. So as Chris had mentioned, this plan applies to the county's 3 regional trails that are under our tutelage, the Prairie Path, the Great Western Trail, and the Southern DuPage Regional Trail. And the trails plan would represent a comprehensive revamp of that 2003 trails maintenance policy that dictates our maintenance and operations for those 3 major trails. So to support this project, we secured grant funding through the Unified Works program, and that is a program that is offered through the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. The project timeline is approximately 1.5 to 2 years. And as you can see on my screen with the asterisks, today we are at the conclusion of the plan, goals, and objectives formation process, and with your concurrence, we would move forward into the next stages of the plan. We plan to involve the committee at every major milestone throughout the plan. We have 3 of them left so far. Leading up to this point, we kicked off in July after some scoping in the spring. We went through some goals and objectives development exercises with DOT staff. And after those exercises in August and September, we convened a group known as the Trails Plan Advisory Committee. That is a steering committee of staff from the county that represent 4 agencies: DOT, Stormwater Management, Environmental Division, and the Building and Zoning Department. Our goals that we will be presenting today represent the outcomes that we want to see in this plan. First of all, we want to work with our municipal partners to improve path maintenance standards and techniques throughout the system. And as a part of that, we also want to continue to support the role that volunteers play in enhancing and maintaining the network. We also want to instill design standards for access, trail features and enhancements, and monumentation. We recognize our role as an environmental steward, and we want to continue to be at the forefront of that by protecting and enhancing the high quality biomes of the trail system. But also as a DOT, we want to utilize our engineering expertise to focus on trail user safety at roadways and river crossings. And in addition to that, in balance with the other ideas that we've shared, for the trail envelope, we want to encourage innovative uses of undeveloped spaces for the benefit of trail users. We recognize that this project is an opportunity to promote elements on the trail that intrigue trail users and improve their recreational experiences, but while also continuing to be a good neighbor to the communities that are along the network. We also want to implement a consistent wayfinding system that helps folks navigate the trail and its wealth of amenities. And at the bottom, you'll see for the final document, we want to provide clear guidance on our standards, procedures, and allowable uses of the trail envelope into the future. The plan would be a public document for our municipal partners, permittees, and the public to all get to know together. And so with that, with your concurrence today on those goals and objectives, today, starting off, we would launch a DuPage Trails Plan project website that, in partnership with the county website, will host information about the project and information gathering exercises. Speaking of that, our first such information gathering exercise will be a trail user survey, which will be accessible to the public via QR codes that will be posted on signs on the trail right-of-way. With your concurrence, that survey would launch in 1 to 2 days from today. Afterwards, we would begin to work on our trail standards development in partnership with our consultant and our steering committee, our staff steering committee. We would identify the innovative uses that we would like to see on the trails and those that we'd like to vet for their efficacy of implementation. And finally, we would develop a cost analysis to really determine the feasibility of the proposals of the plan. So with that, I'll turn that over back to the group for any questions or comments.
Anybody have anything? I'm glad we're doing a survey because I think volunteers are a big part of our trails, and they come up with a lot of great ideas. And yes, we need to have engineers and everything else, but I think the volunteers in the survey is something that I think is really necessary, and our municipal partners can participate as well. Does anybody have anything? Mary?
You said that you would have QR codes along the Prairie Path or the 3 trails. Are you planning on, would there be a link to this on the website that you're planning to release today? On the county website, are you planning a little more expanded effort to get this? Obviously, the survey won't be a random study type of thing, but are you planning on a further rollout besides just the QR on the Prairie Path?
Yes, that's correct. We would be rolling that out with a link on the website to the DuPage County Bikeways page. That's dupageco.org/bikeways.
Okay.
We have a list of partners that we would engage as part of our engagement plan to get the word out and blast that out to their networks.
And you could also include municipalities as well, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And Illinois Prairie Path, those sorts of groups as well. Great.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'm assuming that we have no objection for Sid to move forward on what he's been presented by the committee. Is that a consensus of everybody? All right, Sid, everybody's saying yes, so thank you, nice presentation, and please keep us informed as to the progress of this as well.
Will do. Thank you, committee.
Okay,
Thank you.
I don't think we need an action item on that, just direction move forward. And then item 14 is an authorization for overnight travel. Engineer Champagne from October 13th to the 14th. I have a motion, a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Any report from our state's attorney?
Sorry, I want to apologize to the whole committee. I know it was very rude to be late. I was stuck in a meeting and I sprinted.
Well, don't let it happen
But
again.
I will not let it happen again. I
No.
apologize for being a little bit.
All right,
late.
we'll let you go this time. I'm told that we do not have any old or new business,
So is
so.
that gonna be noted that Dawn Desart was late?
Well, I
right
want
there?
to, okay, $5 penalty for Dawn not sitting in her assigned seat.
I think that's a good idea. We will start that.
What- what do you
today.
think?
Mr. Chairman.
I like that, Dawn. I will let Mary be the treasurer for the, so she can $5. And
Social hours.
once we have enough money, we'll do something. All right, if there's nothing else,
Overweight scale?
What's that?
Overweight scale?
In terms of an update, I mean, I have not, to my knowledge, followed up with the sheriff recently. If you recall, I think they were working with the municipalities on some shared agreements on the usage of them, because as they explained.
At least?
What's that?
Can we buy them?
Well, again, I think they were looking at a shared use, because having them, it's also, if you gotta take them to a special spot and stuff, so we could ask Eddie
thanks, Mary.
to see if there's an update on the
Thank you.
scales.
All right, why don't we do that for our next meeting? We do that?
Sure.
Anybody have anything
Oh,
else?
yeah, number of $10.
All right, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.
That was $5 for Mary leaving early.